look at that. It's a skyline and you're painting it.
I realize that most of it is the back of my head, which is fascinating. Which is why we don't stay here very long.
You have pretty hair, so it's okay.
He thinks.
It's like it's a defining feature of you or something.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
And you're in high school now, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
So now you have plenty of things to draw for very inspired reasons, such as
of course.
not failing out of the class to do it.
Yeah.
So
But also I have reasons to do it faster. Like, this I worked on over a period of months. Whereas now it's like, you have to be done in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Which is possible.
So this skyline, did you do it all in like one session, or it's either you popped out into the overhead view?
I think this took probably like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Because it's hard when you mix like purple and yellow, because obviously basic color science is if you mix complementary colors, you get brown. So that's why I was like, had to take a break in between these and let them dry, because as soon as, obviously purple sort of the top part there, yellow at the bottom. As soon as you mix those when they're red, you're gonna get brown, and pretty skies are not brown.
So when it came to mixing like the yellow kind of into there, we almost thought where you're kind of going over it. It's really neat, kind of. I don't know. It almost looks like 2 layers kind of going on top of each other.
Yeah.
But like it's like waffle fries.
Oh
like,
yes.
I dig like how it almost came out such like perfect lines.
Yeah.
Using purple to make the clouds is a really cool idea.
Yeah, I have never painted a skyline or a sky even of that sort with like actual photorealism and stuff, so this was really, really fun. Obviously, there's a lot of pink happening on the edges, which is like, when you hear the phrase silver lining, that's what it's referring to, is that silver lining around a cloud. But I was looking at a lot of references where, the lining around the clouds is pink, and it's absolutely stunning, and so I was like, I want to do that. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, that makes sense. So, I actually do want to talk about this for a second. We didn't really discuss doing that, but you are in an art school, and I think it's cool to talk about where you're going, why you're going, because it kind of does pertain to this.
So I put off going to art school for a long time because I didn't want to pay for it, and I was really scared of the idea of getting a degree in something that a lot of people talk about as a pointless degree to get. But I don't know, the entire time that I've been putting off school, like, ultimately I've still loved to do stuff like this, and I've always known that this is the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life, and so it finally sort of fell into my lap. And I'm going to art school in Chicago, the American Academy of Art, and so far I really love it. It's been a very short while, but this is the kind of thing that I want to do. If I could make a living, I mean, I love Disney specifically, but if I could make a living painting or animating movies or doing background art or character art, anything of that sort, that'd be the best. Oh, and there's me checking my phone.
Yes.
Good time. But
That's all right.
But so this is the thing that I know I want to do for the rest of my life, and the few years that have passed since high school, like, that's still something that has never changed. Yeah. So it's finally happening, which is pretty cool.
And you'll learn to draw, but you also learn to animate, because we like animation here. We're obsessed with animation here, because we did Spider-Verse last time, and here we are, if you couldn't tell by now, The Lion King.
But this is the kind of thing where, oh my gosh, when I watch movies like Into the Spider-Verse and even this Lion King, I'm like, wow, if I could be one of the people putting work into this product, man, that'd be the best thing.
It's one of those guys like in a factory just painting and drawing for just days on end.
And I would be totally happy with that.
Yeah, although now it's all computers and stuff. Yeah. Only back then it was kind of drawing and stuff. Okay, with the original Lion King, was that still kind of... I don't know how much computers were involved in that one. You would know more of the behind the scenes about Disney than I do.
And it's fascinating because I don't know this for fact, but I believe that the original Lion King, the 1994 one, was where they actually started incorporating something called CAPS, which I think stands for Computer Animation Production System, or something along those lines. Okay. And it was basically when all of this hand-drawn animation that they were doing, like, everybody remembers, like, with the original animated features like Snow White and Cinderella and Peter Pan, everything was hand-drawn. Every cell, every frame was hand-drawn. Mm-hmm. And so I think it was The Lion King, is when they still were doing 2D animation, but all those cells started being done on the computer. So it was still a drawing, but it was done on the computer. It's not 3D rendered like it is today and a lot of animated movies today. Yeah. It's still flat rendered, but they were doing it on the computer. And they had sort of dabbled with that technology in The Little Mermaid at the very final scene. It was used in the ballroom scene in Beauty and the Beast, where it was done on a computer and it was sort of 3D rendered, but I think, if I'm correct, Lion King was when it was fully integrated into the entire movie. Okay. So.
Whereas, so now we lose all these little nuances we get, like, here, where you can almost, like, see, like, creases in the page, stuff like that, and you get all those, like, really, really fine details. But Then you get something like the remake, which is all computers, and it's so interesting to me, the idea of what the remake was and what it is like someone pointed it out in a podcast I was listening to. If it was just like an independent company released like, hey, like look at, we remade the Lion King trailer and it's like completely photorealistic, shot for shot and all that, it would blow up the internet and be crazy. But the whole idea and concept that they were advertising, this is just the movie again. Like pretty this. Much, and so it was weird because watching it, like there's very little differences. Like it's basically the exact same movie.
And it's interesting because, I mean, Walt Disney Animation Studios, in essence, taking stories and just remaking them. Like, all of the fairy tales that Disney made famous were original stories that they just adapted onto the screen. So it's a weird philosophy of, like, well, this is technically the same thing as what the original Lion King was. In that, or, like, what other famous animated movies are, and it's just an iteration or a remake of something. But this one obviously caught a lot of flack for that.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a really, really beautiful movie. I thought it was, nearly shot for shot the same thing with just a different visual and different voices. And I think sometimes that was detrimental to it and sometimes it really enhanced it. So,
I think the biggest downdraw for me was that when the way it was done with live action, the colors were way more muted. It's like realistic in a sense, I suppose, but like you look at this painting, there's so many colors, they pop. And you look at the animation, it's all like very in your face colors. I took creative liberties with this painting though, because the original shot from the trailer, the sky did not look like this. It was just blue. So I wanted to put a little bit more color into it. So that was me. But admittedly, when I was watching the movie, it is more muted. Everything about the live, quote unquote, live action one is more muted. The expressions, the animation are more muted. That's what you get with realism, is you lose the pops of color in the expression. It was nice. It was easy to still distinguish between Mufasa and Simba. Just when they're older, it's like, okay, I'm not having any preconceived notions that they're the same character model. They look a little bit different. Mufasa was definitely bigger. Absolute unit. Aside from that, though, all the female lions were the exact same.
Oh, yes, they were.
The exact. I would not be able to tell. Like, I could almost barely discern, like, who was talking when. And, like, what character was what. It's actually impossible.
So that some things like that, obviously, I think are detrimental. And everybody, I think, when people saw that first clip that was released on Jimmy Kimmel of the Hakuna Matata scene, like, everybody had that same thought of, like, they look dead. Like, they don't look like they're happy to be singing the song. It's clearly a very stark contrast to the original. So, I think that kind of hurt the reception. To me, it was something that I could get over pretty quickly, but I know a lot of people couldn't. Like, a lot of people, the movie felt like it lacked a lot of heart because of it.
It's wonderfully cast, though. Billy Eichner did a fantastic job.
Absolutely.
I think I actually kind of liked his Timon a bit more than the original. That's
a fair thing to say, I think. I mean, both are great, but that's one of the reasons that I do like these remakes, is because obviously there's no need for it, but it is really cool to see, like, who in, today's group of actors would I cast in these iconic roles. And it was enjoyable for that reason.
It's also interesting to think, like, for a casting director, it's a different challenge where it's like, you have characters, but this time it's like you're completely overdubbing something almost, so it's like you have to almost match the original voice, but at the same time you're just kind of picking out people and putting, like, this character exists like this, was portrayed like this already, so then who is that person portraying, and find that. Like, Seth Rogen was a fantastic pick, but, like, I think it's definitely just kind of like because someone else laid the groundwork of this is how this person is and sounds, and so it's weird to think like that. Like, John Oliver, I don't think I would have thought of, but the more, like, you put him in that role, I guess it makes sense. But I feel like it's just and exclusively because he is British.
Sort of. It's funny because him and Rowan Atkinson, the original voice of Zazu, both have this sort of appearance to them that is similar to a hornbill, and that they have these eyes and this nose and this sort of face where it's like, I could see that person playing a hornbill, which is ironic because you don't see their face.
No, not at all.
But they both have a very similar way of speaking too. So both, I think, are just, it's so much fun to, like, look at these actors and say, hey, I can see how that person would be portraying this animated character.
And it's really interesting seeing the difference in voice acting, because none of these people are really professional voice actors in a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, they use their
John
voices.
Oliver's a talk show host.
Yeah, like Seth Rogen makes live action movies. I made an animation, I suppose, with Sausage Party. That was a weird movie though. But everything that like everyone else is doing, Beyonce was interesting. She felt like soap opera acting a little bit. Everything was so crazy over expressive.
That was, and it's funny because there were like Chiwetel Ejiofor is a really, really talented actor, but even in his portrayal, there were times where, because you and I have talked about so much how Jeremy Irons' performance was like a character.
Yeah. Like anticipates Loki.
Through and through. Yeah. And then Chiwetel Ejiofor's kind of fell flat for me at times in comparison. Like, it was a great vocal performance on its own, but when you put it up against Jeremy Irons, it felt like it lacked a lot.
Yeah.
And I hate to say that, obviously, because we know he's a great actor.
It's just like that delivery he was trying to be intimidating.
Yeah.
And I don't think Scar is ever trying to be intimidating, because they say in the beginning he loses the fight.
Yeah.
Like, if he's gonna fight you, he knows he's at a disadvantage. So his whole thing is like, I'm charming. Even when he goes to the hyenas, it seems in the first one that he like convinces them and charms them into being like, yes, be my army.
Yeah.
I have all these great things, and look at this song. Yeah. But in this one, it's just like, hey, we both suck. Let's both suck together.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to go kill this guy. You can come if you want. And I don't know. It lost some luster with that.
Yeah, I can see that in a lot of the performances, but I don't think it was like, because a lot of people like criticize like Donald Glover's vocal performance for sounding, or for the way it looked. Yeah. And I'm like, it doesn't, like, just the way that his animated lion face looks doesn't mean that he's not doing a good job with the voice acting.
Yeah, and I feel like him and Beyonce were entirely cast for Can You Feel the Love Tonight.
Yeah, but which was gorgeous. It was so gorgeous.
Oh, fantastic. But I don't know, because I feel like the way he was acting in it, like, I like Donald Glover in almost everything he does. Yeah. I did like his performance in this, but it almost seemed like when they were like talking that their characters weren't like weren't necessarily. Yeah. Like, the way he's trying to kind of be, like, suave, I could almost see how he was acting it in the booth, probably, like, trying to, like, do movements, but just kind of coming off the voice, it felt weird. Yeah. But, I don't know, like, it was cool. It's great technologically. Yeah. Like, it's weird, because with the drawn animations, with computer animations and stuff, when it's stylized, you want to look at every little detail and, like, be amazed by it. Like, right now we're looking at, like, you making these things and, like, the process of making all these fine details and stuff. And that's what you're trying to analyze. Yeah. I think when it comes to photorealistic animation, people inherently kind of want to look for flaws.
Oh, for sure. It's that whole phenomenon of uncanny valley, which is fascinating to me. Yeah. Of the idea that, like, something, if it's...
slowly falling.
Yeah.
Let me fix this while you talk. Sorry.
No, yeah. Uncanny valley is the idea that, like, if something is nearly identical to human, but not quite there, it makes it really, really jarring than something that's even farther away from identical to human. Yeah. Because as it approaches being identical, it loses a little bit of that, like, realism. Yeah. And I don't think that's what was happening in this movie, because they did look like beautifully animated photorealistic lions, but it's the juxtaposition of a beautiful photorealistic lion with a human's voice coming out of it that's like, okay.
Yeah, it's weird. You're not expecting it. Yeah. Especially because they can't move their mouths the way that, like, the voices are coming out.
Yeah, their mouths and their eyes. Yeah.
Especially with, like, Mufasa. What's great about James Earl Jones' original performance, it's getting really hot in here. The great thing about his original performance was that it was almost kind of like Kevin Conroy in Batman, where it's like he's trying to be intimidating as a king, but then when he's with his son, it's like, oh, it's lightening up the voice. Yeah. He's like being like a playful, like, dad. He's trying to be like, it's I'm not trying to, intimidate you or anything. You're my son. It's family time, and it's cool. But in this one, I think because the lion is so much less expressive, he's just kind of the same voice the entire time. Yeah. Like, it's very boomy. Yeah. And you can tell they put a lot more, like, production into whatever his setup was, because his voice just, like, takes up so much of what's happening, and it's neat because it's Vader and all that. But I don't know. I feel like it lost a lot of it. But this whole trend of, we're gonna remake all these movies and stuff, all these classic animations, I am not about it. I know you're into it, because as you can see by painstakingly painting this amazing thing of Pride Rock, that you're really into these movies. Yeah. And so Disney Plus is coming out, which is cool to me, because in some respects they're not putting all of the ones they're doing into theaters. And I like the idea, like, okay, we'll tone it back. We're not solely relying on box office for these things. and we're gonna put Lady and Tramp
Mm-hmm.
is gonna be on there, and I am very curious to see how they do that.
Oh yeah.
I am so curious to see how they do that because
I think
the spaghetti scene doesn't work with real dogs.
Yeah. I mean, it's not necessary, and sometimes it does just seem like a box office grab. I think from an artist's perspective, it's a great way to bring these iconic stories back. And sometimes, if they're out of date, like if they're, maybe history has sort of caught up a little bit, it's a cool way to remake them, and it's a cool way to retell the story and use the new technology and the new actors that we have. And I really like it, and it allows me to create stuff like this. So
so if it gives us content, sure, why not?
Yeah.
And speaking of content, if there's any cool things you guys want to see us try to draw, because sometimes we have ideas and sometimes we don't, and we need to find some inspiration, you can certainly give us requests. I'll be looking through comments and all these kind of things. But until then, we have Pride Rock, and it's by Natalie Sweet, and I'm going to try to outro smoothly, but I can't, so here we go.